Hey guys, thanks for joining. We are here at the Bailey Homestead and they're going to give you some more information. We're just walking up to the Bailey Homestead right now. It's a beautiful day on Sanibel. And we're going to be starting in just a second. All right, we're on and we actually have a couple viewers already with us. They walked a beautiful walk so far.
Yeah, and a gorgeous walk. My name's Susan McCallion. I'm with McCallion and McCallion Realty on Sanibel Island, Florida. I have with me Jenny, who has been a pillar here with Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation. She's been with the organization for how many years, Jenny?
15.
15. Yep, a lot of years. So we're going to learn a little bit about today the Bailey Homestead and SCCF, an organization that was founded in 1967 by concerned citizens wanting to maintain and keep our flora and fauna in good shape here on Sanibel Island. Jenny, can you give us a little overview of where we're at and what's significant about this beautiful greenhouse?
Sure. So we are at our Bailey Homestead Preserve. SCCF acquired the homestead in 2011 from the Bailey family. They were some early settlers on the island in the late 1800s. They were one of the first families that took up residence here. And what we're standing on is 28 acres that the family had lived on up until we purchased it from one of the family members. It was their original house. They built it in 1896. And when we took it over, we agreed to not develop the property. The house, of course, was here, but we turned it into a nature preserve. We have a trail that bisects the property, and our Native Landscapes and Garden Center headquarters are here, which includes a bunch of demonstration gardens, some of which you will see, as well as a garden center where you can buy plants. So, right, now we're here.
Wonderful. So, I encourage you at some point in the future to see the Bailey Homestead. I do think they have tours periodically where you can go inside the homestead. I'm not sure that that's happening right now with COVID, but the nursery is open and the grounds are beautiful. So tell us a little bit about SCCF. SCCF owns tons of land on Sanibel and really maintains more than what they own. Tell us a little bit about the mission.
So, like Susan said, we started in 1967. It was a group of citizens who were interested in preserving the island in its natural state. So really the organization started as a land trust to the point where at this juncture we own a little over 1,800 acres. That's both on Sanibel, some on Captiva, there's some in the Pine Island Sound area and even on part of Pine Island. And we are stewards of the land that we own. So in our preserves, we do things like remove invasive plants, we monitor the wildlife that's using that property. In addition, we also have a sea turtle research program that keeps track of all of our nesting turtles and does research on their biology, both on Sanibel and Captiva. We have a shorebird program. We have a research marine laboratory that's located down at Tarpon Bay. We have the Native Landscapes and Garden Center. Sanibel Sea School, which is an educational group that takes kids out and learns about our natural world and in particular the oceans. Sanibel Sea School is part of the SCCF family as well. We also have an environmental policy department that takes the research that we do and gives that information to our local legislators and tries to have great environmental policy on a local, state, and regional basis.
Doing a lot on water.
Yeah, so we do a lot of water quality, try to get information and have good information about some of the problems with Lake Okeechobee and Everglades restoration and freshwater releases coming out of the Coosawhatchee and how that impacts our local environment and some of our wildlife.
So the team at SCCF is powered by paid staff and also a ton of volunteers. And on your team, you've got researchers, scientists, teachers, grandmas, grandpas, kids that help out, and they all help with the goal of educating and protecting. Is that about right?
Yep, the whole idea is protecting and caring for our natural resources. So what we do here is try to get people out into nature. For the research part of it, we try to learn about what's in our nature, basically. So anything that connects people to their local environment.
Awesome. Can you tell me how much land on Sanibel is conservation, either state, federal, local owned, or SCCF?
It's somewhere in the 2/3 range.
Okay.
I don't know the exact percentage, but between the city of Sanibel, us, and Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge, as well as some state properties, it's like 2/3 to 3/4, somewhere in that ballpark.
So that's about 66 to 70% of the land here is conservation land. So we get to still see coyotes, and we see
Bobcats.
Bobcats.
and we see rabbits, a lot of rabbits. We are seeing some raccoons now. And oddly, I just started seeing a couple squirrels.
Yes. Squirrels have not, at least to my knowledge, been around for very long. Or they were sort of isolated to a small area, but they're in Fort Myers, but they haven't been out for very long.
They must have crossed the causeway.
I don't know.
Swam.
Hopped on a
Back
car. I don't know.
Hopped on a car.
But yeah, there are now squirrels here. Trying to think what else. Do we say bobcats? Do we say
Yeah, we
goat
did.
tortoises?
Yeah. Oh, and the alligators.
The alligators.
So I have a couple friends who help with the tortoise watches. So they go in the early morning and in the
Oh, sea turtle survey.
Sea turtles.
Yeah,
Turtle, yes.
yes, and they do a lot to make sure that they track and help these eggs stay safe.
Yeah.
So not getting eaten by coyotes or other animals. Can you tell us a little bit about the research around sea turtles here?
Sure. So, Susan's exactly right. Basically, during sea turtle season, which is, I believe, starts now or in the April time frame, all the way through the fall, turtles start coming ashore and making nests and laying eggs. And then later on in the season, there's hatchlings that make it out to sea. And every day of the entire sea turtle season, every inch of beach is covered by volunteers and staff who look for turtle tracks and find each nest that's laid the previous night. And then they do exactly what you described. They mark off the nests. They put a screen mesh over the top that doesn't prevent hatchlings from coming out, but does prevent predation from coyotes and other animals. And so we have a really good running history of the population of sea turtles on our island. In addition to that, recently the sea turtle team has been working on some research projects to start to look at the effects of red tide on turtles, and also start to look at other parameters that might affect sea turtle nesting and behavior. So things like light in the sky, temperature of the nest and how that affects males and females and the hatchlings, and a whole bunch of other things that affect the biology of sea turtles.
I think I heard from one of my friends that Sanibel and Captiva Islands were one of the most frequented place for sea turtles. Is that true?
They're certainly up there. It depends on the species you're looking at, but we have a lot of loggerheads. There are more that actually nest on portions of the east coast of Florida, but we definitely have a high population within the state, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about landscaping now. So when Jim and I and the kids moved to Sanibel back in 2008, we had this beautiful brand new home with a ton of huge Australian pines. You couldn't see the house from the street, and we called Jenny. And she came out, and she and a teammate of hers walked through our yard with us to talk to us about what we had. Can you talk a little bit about that service you provide?
Sure. So that's what we call our Landscaping for Wildlife House Call program. And the basic principle is anyone that's a member of SCCF or new homeowners, newly purchased homeowners, will get a free membership to SCCF for their first year. So basically what you do is you call us up and we schedule a house call for you. One of our team members goes to your property, takes about an hour. We walk around. If there's questions about what a plant is, whether it's native or not, we can answer those questions. We really tailor it to what you're looking to do. So if you know all of your plants, but you have a certain area that you want to get some new plantings in, you can give some suggestions on what might work for that area. If you're not sure how to remove problematic plants, we can help you figure that out. So we really, just walk around and answer whatever questions the homeowner may have. After that point, we typically write up a summary that you can refer to later on, or you can come into the garden center and ask us questions whenever you want. So that's how the process starts. From there, we also, as we mentioned, we have a garden center, so you can come and visit the garden center and ask us questions and get recommendations there. We also do pretty small scale, but design and maintenance and installation. So depending on your needs, we can continue on for whatever you're looking to do.
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It wasn't available when we moved here. I think. At least I didn't know.
No,
that.
I don't think it was.
Now, as people move here, they may be moving from a typical suburban community where if they had a plant on their side yard that they didn't like, they just take it down. You can't necessarily do that so easily here. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Sanibel, being a sanctuary island, also tries to protect both our wildlife and our native plants. And so there are, the city of Sanibel has a good number of regulations about particularly things to protect native vegetation. And so really the first step to figuring out what you might need a permit for or what you're able to do or not do is to really look at the plant itself and figure out what species it is and whether it's native or not native. That's the first step. If you determine that it's native, or if we tell you that it's native, then depending on what you want to do, you may need to get a permit to move it or remove it, or in some cases even trim it. So the best rule of thumb is if you're not familiar with it, first figure out what it is, and then figure out what the parameters are from there. Couple things I will mention: if you are looking at mangroves, you definitely need a permit to do anything at all with mangroves. And then the other thing is if you're on the beach side, anything forward of what's called the SCCF line, which you will probably know if you have a beach property, anything to the ocean side of that also requires permitting. So those are kind of the two special exemptions.
Okay. Let's walk over and take a look at the nursery.
Sure. I'm a bunny.
Sorry.
There's a bunny. We love our wildlife, but the bunnies are a little bit overpopulated right now. Bunnies.
Do you think they're reducing? Do you think
They're getting better. But
Yeah, I think so too.
they want a quick biology lesson. The last couple of years, we've had an explosion of in our bunny population, which is all fine and good. It just makes gardeners a little bit crazy.
Right.
So we've actually been protecting a lot of our plants with chicken wire.
Mm-hmm.
Taking stock of them.
Jim and Susan have written a few articles on that as well. What they've tried.
It's funny because they at some point they decide they like one thing, and then the next week they change their diet and start eating something else.
We've kind of given up on all of the methods we tried. We ultimately screened in our whole yard of anything we didn't want them to eat, and still got in.
Yeah.
So
Well, it is getting better. That's the second lesson in biology. Is that eventually the predators will catch up. So we're getting to that point.
yeah. So this is a native plant nursery, and we come here for lots of things for our yard, and there's tons of options. Talk to us a little bit about how the nursery has evolved over time.
Well, it's evolved a lot. We moved
Yes.
since I mentioned we acquired this property in 2011. We actually moved here in 2015. So this is a new space to us in the last 6 years, I guess. What we did, so if you ever come to visit us, we designed demonstration gardens all around our retail garden center. So the idea is that we're really an educational resource, so that if somebody comes and they have questions, it's really difficult to show them a plant in a pot and explain to them that this will become a 30-foot tree. It's hard to envision. So the idea was that we put in gardens so we can show them the tiny little tree and then walk them over to, no, this is really how big your tree is going to get, and this is what to expect. Because the idea is we want people to succeed with their native landscaping from a number of reasons. We don't want them to have to go get a permit to cut their tree down, but we also want them to create habitat for our local wildlife. So we hope to, you know, just educate people about how to do it and answer their questions and recommend appropriate plants for them. And
Do you only sell native plants?
for the most part. We are like
part.
99.5% native.
Okay.
If it's something for landscaping, you can be rest assured that it is native. The reason the 0.5% is up by what we call the honey house, which is kind of a retail area. We do sell a few herbs. So we have a couple of rosemaries and you know, that kind of thing.
So I was going to ask you about the honey house because I'm sure it's not open right now, but
It is not.
I have been to the honey house and I believe I have bought honey at the honey house.
It's true.
Tell us
Yeah.
about the honey house.
So the honey house is called the honey house because the Bailey, that's what the Bailey family called it. I've heard a number of stories about why it was named to that, but the one that makes the most, seems the most plausible to me is that they actually the family harvested honey, and that's where they would process it when they did it. I think it went through a number of different iterations of what happened in the honey house, but that was one of them. But we do sell honey. We actually have a local-ish beekeeper that brings beehives to our preserves at certain times of the year. And so depending on what's blooming in the calendar year is what flavor of honey you will get. So right about maybe a month from now or so, the beekeeper will bring his hives out, and it's the beginning of sea grape honey season because all the sea grapes start to bloom. And so you can be assured that that's the one thing that's blooming to get the sea grape honey. So we have sea grape honey that was produced, I guess, by bees on our land. And then about a month later, they go into mangrove honey season. So, which is primarily from the black mangrove. We have 3 kinds of mangroves on the island, but primarily from the black mangroves. And so he also puts hives out and you get mangrove honey.
Okay. And is the store opened now during season or?
Yeah, so COVID's made it a little wonky, but our current hours are Monday to Thursday, 10 to 3.
Okay.
And that's basically, we've got a few things for sale in there, but that's where, you know, that's connected to the garden center. So those are the hours for really the whole grounds. The Shipley Trail, which is the trail that bisects the property back behind us, you can walk on that whenever you want. But the garden center, the demonstration gardens, the honey house, that's the Monday to Thursday.
And there is a parking area right before you come onto the property, so you can park your cars or your bicycles and walk down the Shipley Trail. We also ride our bikes down the Shipley Trail.
It's a beautiful, it's a beautiful shaded area, which is really nice when it's hot, like today.
Yes.
Yeah, but it connects on the far end. It connects to city property. It's the Pond Apple Park. So if you're familiar with that, you could actually ride completely off-road all the way from Causeway Boulevard, like back behind the Chamber of Commerce. You could go across, I guess, two roads, and make it all the way over here without going on Periwinkle or on the road at all, really.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
And you see lots of amhingos and alligators and lots of different birds. So what have we not talked about that you can't wait to let people know?
Oh dear. Well, I think the biggest misconception I would say in the native landscaping world is that natives are ugly, or that your native landscape has to be ugly or look kind of in a disarray.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we try to show here. So we just try to give people techniques on here's what you can do around your house that will look presentable, but also support our wildlife. And a lot of it is, you know, some of the basic parameters, but the one that I like is work with what you've got. You know, if you've got a shady area, we typically have really high alkalinity soils. You have a really dry, alkaline, shady area. Don't try to change it otherwise. You're not going to irrigate it so that it's all of a sudden damp, and you're not going to have a lot of organic matter in your soil because that's not what we have here. So no matter what circumstance you're in, try to work with those parameters in your yard, because there are certain species that will work for you and will satisfy your needs and support our local wildlife. So.
That's a great point. And I love how you've actually shown the landscaping in practice. So thank you so much for opening up for us on a day that you're typically closed and coming out to meet us. We really appreciate it. It's always good to see you.
You too.
And thank you all for joining us. Maybe Tiffany can just
I'll do a little walk around.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Nice to see you all. If you have questions about buying or selling real estate, please don't hesitate to email or call. You can email Susan at sanibelrealestateguide.com, or you can call our office at 239-472-1950. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great one. Bye.
I look around. Yeah, things are really, some things are growing more.
They have definitely expanded since the last time I was here about 3 years ago. There are a lot of different sections in here now, so you guys gotta make sure you come and check it out the next time you're on island. I will post the hours that they have for COVID. And I'll post Jenny's contact information in here as well. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're gonna put together some more footage and have a recap video if you're interested in that. Just email us, Susan at sanibelrealestateguide.com. And we hope you have a lovely rest of your Friday. Thanks.